LCBN television broadcasts 24/7 on UK Freeview Channel 271, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, Google TV, See Love World, LCBNTV.com, LifeComTV.com.
Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Lydia. Today we're going to be talking about food. I'm sure some people are wondering, how does food relate to mental health? We are talking about how it can do, what kind of foods keep you up, what kind of foods can bring you down, how actually, if you want to diet, you want to lose weight, it starts in the mind. Today I've got a lady who works as a nutritionist. She's a coach. She's a healthy lifestyle coach. Please help me welcome Odunubi.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Well, I've sort of done the intro and talked a bit about food and mental health and sort of talking about actually what it means. Is there a link between food and mental health? I think that's what we're going to talk about today. Yeah, but first of all, talk a bit about yourself and your journey into being a healthy lifestyle coach.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me once again. So my name is Odunubi. I am a healthy lifestyle coach for one of the boroughs in the UK. So my job does consist of teaching behavioral change. It's very much of how to change the behavior in order to have the desired lifestyle, e.g. losing weight. So about 10 years ago, I woke up one morning, looked at myself in the mirror, and I made up my mind to lose weight. I didn't know how to go about it, but I was very open and I was ready to make a change. At that time in my life, I was suffering from a huge depression and also slightly suicidal thought. It was a very depressing time in my life. As my religion, which is Christianity, I went to God, asked him to help me, and that was how the journey started. And as I began to read up, began to find my way on the journey, I began to see that what I was eating at that time was actually part of the reason why I was experiencing some form of depression or some form of mind battles. Changed my food, changed my lifestyle, and and depression has been history in the last 10, 11 years, and suicidal thoughts.
So would you say that the diet was what caused it, or was it a combination of the fact that you were overweight and the foods you were eating?
So I think there was a lot of combination of a lot of things. So I grew up not having a lot of emotional support as a child. If I'm to look back, I was not emotionally stable, even though I grew up in a home that was affectionate in the sense that they paid my school fees. I wore the best of the best clothes, but emotionally, it wasn't. I didn't have a lot of emotional support. So that left me with a void in my heart, had a lot of low self-esteem, lack of self-confidence, always looking for love in the wrong places. So I was dealing with a lot of inside trauma, then coupled with being overweight, then coupled with not paying attention to the things that were coming into my mind. Then also finding out that, some certain food could actually trigger, and the research is so evident now in the last 10 years that what you eat can literally affect your mood. And that was where my problem really started. Yeah.
So actually, let's sort of go back a bit, because we're talking about the whole person, the whole child being nurtured. And a lot of times we believe our nurturing is just that I feed my child properly, I provide for them, I give them a roof over their head, I make sure they go to school. And actually, I think we get more support in school. If the child is lacking in any way, then there's a lesson teacher or somebody to help them with their schoolwork brought in. But do you remember what it felt like? Because you were saying that I didn't have enough. I had good parents, because we don't want to knock the parents. And they were doing what they thought was needful. But just for parents who are listening, parents who are still raising children, and even parents who've raised children, what can you remember what was missing? What was the thing that you felt? Because when we say emotional support, sometimes we don't get it. Is it that you didn't get hugged? Is it that what was really missing that helped you sort of get lost? Because everything else was working, but that part.
Mm-hmm. I think it was very much of the affection part of it. So my parents were business people. They would leave the house as early as 5 a.m. Majority of my secondary school was in the north. Growing up, I would say that we didn't show affection in my house. It wasn't. I never saw my parent hug or do the little things. My house was very serious. From school to lesson teacher, from lesson teacher you eat, you sleep, and it was just back to back. So over the years, I always tell people that a home is the place where a child needs to be affirmed and told who they were. My parents didn't have that knowledge. They raised us the way they were raised. So the first person that told me I was beautiful was a man outside. I never heard that word from my dad. I never heard hugs were not given. I was never affirmed that, oh, you're a confident child. Even if when I did well in school, it was always very much of, why can't you be like so and so? Why can't you be? And I'm like, no, I don't want to be like so and so. I just want to be me. So I think it was a lot of that internal, not affirming, not showing affection, not telling me who I am, that, what, you're beautiful. If someone else says it outside is extra, but you are beautiful, you are a leader, you have, you can, the world is your oyster, you can do anything you set your mind to. And I think that was where my issue started. Then I went to secondary school, I was bullied. Because I was a big child, I was bullied a lot. I was just picked on. And I couldn't go home to tell them that I was bullied because they didn't give room for conversations. Okay. Then when I went to family gatherings, because I was a big child, my dad's siblings will make fun of me, but they didn't know that what they were doing was actually damaging me because I couldn't express my thoughts. So I think that was where a lot of my issues start. And you would often find that a lot of people that are slightly overweight, not everybody, there is a form of emotional void that they're trying to feed with food. There is always a void they are trying to feed with food. Yeah.
Okay. And I think that the practice that you've described now is what we call tough love. so the tougher you are with the child, the more, I don't know if they feel the child will be more robust or will be more equipped, emotionally to cope with life if you don't connect with your emotions. Mm-hmm. But we see that the lack of that, that disconnect from the family left something, and that led to probably overeating or comfort eating, as we would call it. And then it was exasperated because everybody now, we were being bullied in school because of it, and then family teased you, and that only impacted you or did more damage. Because I know most of the time when we see overweight children, especially people from ethnic minorities, we're like, we just go for it and give them like names, pull their cheeks, forgetting that everybody they come in contact with is doing this. Okay, so how big were you when you decided? Because now looking at you, you're slim, but I want people to know how big you were when you started this journey.
So I was literally like a size 22, I must say, reaching to a 24, but I would say at that time I was wearing a size 22, slightly about an Evans 22. And you know, an Evans 22,
It's a
slightly
big.
bigger than a Dorothy Perkins 22. So yeah.
Okay, and what size are you now?
So I am a size 12. I am a size 12. So I can go into Dorothy Perkins and pick a size 12. I can go into Karen Miller and wear a size 12. I can go into New Look and wear a size 12. So I am a size 12.
Wear an Evans size 12 now.
No. Evans starts at a 14 now, actually. They actually start at 14. Yeah, not a 12. Not Evans 12. No.
Okay, so that's a lot of dress sizes. A lot of dress sizes. So tell us how, that how that happened, because I mean we hear people say they start and they lose a tremendous amount of weight, and a couple of months later you see they've gained it again. They're measuring food, they're starving, they're running like crazy. So how did you do? I know you said God really helped, so tell us that story.
Yeah. So it was a very weak time in my life, and I tell people that I felt very helpless. I've never gone on a diet in my life. I didn't even know that people lose weight. I was just, when you're just big and rolling yourself all over the place. Then during my episode of depression and suicidal thoughts, at that time I'd already walked my way back to God. So even though I'd been a Christian for years, I didn't know that I could have a relationship with God. So I started making my way.
That's pivotal, because people have relationships with church. They have relationships with the pastor. They have relationships with the ministry in the church or whichever group they're in. But the person actually that they're in the church for, they don't have a relationship. It's almost like a fictional character, because when I think people are saying God said this or spoke to me, then they're thinking, what is this person talking about? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that was my you've literally just painted the story of my life. When I needed to hear God in the past, I would go to a pastor and a prophet. That was the way I dealt with hearing God. But at this low season in my life, I heard my pastor preaching a message on relationship with God. It was a new church I was going. So I humbled myself, went to him. Well, I didn't know we need to hear God by ourselves. Can you help me? And he directed me to some scriptures. I started reading them, started walking my way back to God. Then as I read the Bible, I found out that my depressive thoughts started reducing. It didn't go immediately. My suicidal thoughts started reducing as I take in the word of God, because there was a renewing of the mind that was happening. And I just woke up, I think 6 or 7 months after, I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, I can't keep living like this. I need to lose weight. God, can you help me? And that was where the journey started. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go to. But why?
Sorry to interrupt. But I wanted to go back to this depression and suicide, because you're a Christian, you're going to church, and you're having this. So can you describe, because sometimes when people are struggling with mental health, when they're talking about being depressed, when they're talking about suicidal thoughts, other Christians feel, oh, they're less of a Christian.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Or they can't even imagine what that feels like, maybe because naturally they're extroverts, they're naturally happy people. So they can't understand when people are so down. But I know that if you read the Bible, you will see that people were depressed, people had suicidal thoughts. But there's this like happy pill with take now, and everybody is on this happiness. And it actually looks bad when you say, you know what, I'm struggling. I'm not as happy as I would like to be. So can you describe a bit about how that feeling was for you at the time?
Okay. So it feels like there's a weight on you. And I would say, let me take you back to the cause of my depression. Mm-hmm. So I was out of job and I've been trying to look for work for a very long time. I couldn't find any. Then hopelessness set in because I couldn't pay my bills. At that time, I was a student, and I was not eligible for public funds, so I couldn't get benefit, and I was stuck. So that was one. Then two, I didn't have the support of my family back home because there was also the pressure of getting married. And I'm like, I'm just trying to look for a job and you're telling me I need to bring a spouse home. This is not the right time. Let me sort out my life first. It wasn't, I didn't get the support. And because my family was one that I couldn't open up, you just couldn't tell them how things were because we didn't have that relationship. So it was really tough for me. And I just started having this feeling of hopelessness, heaviness, mood swings, didn't feel like getting out of bed. By the time I check my emails, is no, 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 no. Over the years, I've had an image, a fake image, which I wrote about in my book. I couldn't keep up the appearance anymore because I was thinking how people would look at me. So there was a lot of issues that were as a result of my depression. Then also, the more I was depressed, the more I ate. It was just a heavy mood. I wasn't interested in the things that I would normally enjoy. I felt irritated easily. I didn't see hope. I didn't want to go out, and those are the thoughts. Those are the symptoms of depression. One day I'm high, the next day I'm low. There's some days I wouldn't even want to get out of bed, and those were the symptoms that I began to see. And it began to gradually lead to suicidal thoughts because after a while I started hearing, oh, well, nobody likes you. The company you've just left, that's why they made you redundant. You've been trying to look for a job. You have a master's and, you can't even get a job. You're a failure. So those were the thoughts that were coming to my mind. And at some point, I actually thought, let me just even kill myself. I actually thought of it, but I remembered, I said, if I kill myself, my mom will never recover. That was the only thing, I'm telling you. She was the only person I thought of. I said, my mom will never recover if I kill myself. I said, no, I can't do this to her. So I had those thoughts coming in to tell me, oh, okay, why don't you go to River Thames? But I just thought, no, my mom, she'll never recover if I kill myself. And that was my situation. So it was a gradual movement. And that's the thing about depression. You just don't wake up being depressed one day. You start with anxiety, then it gradually moves to depression. Then before you know what's happening, suicidal thought. Before you know what's happening, suicide. So I just never got to that end of, okay, this is it. It was just those thoughts and I was hearing them. They were loud, they were aggressive, they were literally I literally hear them like bam, bam, bam all the time. And that was my experience.
Okay, so how, some people sitting there would think, okay, why would God worry about somebody who is size 22, like, can't they just stop eating? So because that your story lets me know or reminds me that God actually is in every part of our life, is in our business, whether you think it's important or not. Yeah, so how does God, because it's like an encounter you had, in you saying, God, I'm really desperate and I really need to lose weight. So something must have been so honest about your cry for God to say, you know what, Cheryl really needs me now. I need to come out. I need to step out for her. So now talk about the journey.
Okay, I once heard it said somewhere that a man is in the best place of his life, that in the sense that the only person that could help him at that time is God. So I think I'd come to the lowest I could be in my life. Before then, I was a very strong person, could sort things out myself, could press one or two buttons. Now, every button I knew how to press was down. So it was a place of humbling myself. God, I can't see a way out. God, I need your help. If you are real, show yourself strong. And that was the way it was like. It was literally, I've come to the end of myself. There was no strength. There was no covering up. All this one, you go into the prayer closet and you're already speaking for net. This one was like, God, if you don't help me, nobody will help me. So I am here. And that was how it started. Then I started reading my Bible. As I began to read my Bible, I would just, a word, some words would just highlight in the Bible up for me. And I remember having an encounter with John 10:10. The thief comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And Jesus said, I came that you may have life and have it in abundance. And that scripture literally just turned the whole of my life around, because it made me to see that it wasn't God that was trying to kill me. I have an enemy. And I had Jesus on my side who was ready to give me life. Then I think another scripture that came to mind also was that I am the way, the truth, and the life. The way stood out for me. The life stood out for me. And that was where the journey began. And the first thing that God addressed was actually me giving up sugar, because I was a sugar addict. That was the first thing I would say he addressed. I would drink.
I think people don't realize that people can be addicted to sugar. I remember that the first time I heard it was from Derek Prince. If you listen to any of his messages, one of his messages, he talks about how a lot of us are actually addicted to the white sugar, but we never think of it as an addiction. We just, but your body actually craves that sugar, that type of sugar. So I'm go on. So
that was the first thing he picked point on, the sugar, because I would drink 500 ml Coke, 2 bottles, Lucozade, 2 bottles in a day, then couple of hot chocolates. I never drank water. And how God addressed that sugar thing was that I went cold turkey. Mine wasn't a gradual one, because looking back now, I can see that he didn't make it gradual for me. He wanted me to go cold turkey, and which means that I just gave it up. The day I looked at myself in the mirror, 2 weeks after that, that Holy Spirit just said, give up sugar. And I took all the Cokes in my house, the Lucozade, the white sugar, and I bin it. And then for the next 2 weeks, it was hell on earth because I had withdrawals. And that's and sugar is also very similar to cocaine. If you see any cocaine addict, it's the same reaction it has on your brain. And for 2 weeks, I went cold turkey. I was restless, but I knew God empowered me to be able to go over that 2 weeks of weaning myself off sugar. And that was where the change started. So sugar was the first thing he addressed. And the moment I gave it up, he began to show me all the things that I needed to do.
Okay, so just in this your conversation now, we know that some foods trigger moods. Something like sugar, we can all easily be addicted to it on different levels. So what type of foods are good? Because I know this is what you do for a living. So let's talk about good, bad foods. Is there any bad food? Because I don't believe any food is bad, but
I think the honest truth is, let me just be honest. We all know the food that are good. We all know. And I'll put my hands up. I am yet to see one person. And it's rare. It's very rare for you to see someone that say, oh, I didn't know that was bad. We all know, because the diet industry is a multi-million pound industry. And we have everyone around us, either friends, colleagues at work, saying, I'm on diet. No, I can't have sugar. I can't have this. I can't have that. So I believe we all know the food that is good for our body. The issue is being motivated to eat the food that is good for our body and having a reason to do that. I also don't believe in bad food or good food, in the sense that when you label a food bad or good, you're actually much more triggered to eat the bad food. That's the thing. It's just the way we've been wired. What I believe is having the power to choose right. That's what I believe. So you choose. You have power to choose the right food, if we call it, which is the vegetables, the whole grain bread, whole grain rice, like brown rice, whole grain pasta, whole grain, or even our local food like amala. It's a very good one. Eba, in fact, it's a very good one. Even our eforiro, or the vegetable soup, the Igbo one, the northern one, the southern one, they're very good. The only issue is that we need to cook them with less oil. Water is a good drink, So we do know yam is a very good food. But plantain is a good food. The green and the orange one, they're good food. Fruits, they're good food. So we all know the food that is good for us. I think oftentimes it's the portions we're eating and how we're cooking them. So it's just those two issues. Now, if we now say the bad food, of course, we have the likes of cakes, the likes of pastries, the likes of just sweets, chocolate. So we do know them, but the majority of the food that we will normally eat on a day to day, they are good, but it's just the portion and how we cook them that is the issue.
Okay, you said it's how can we stay motivated to eat good? Because that bit, like, what would be what would be the mantra? What would I say to myself?
Okay. So if someone comes to me and says, I need motivation to lose weight or to live a healthy lifestyle, the first thing is that, okay, good, you're motivated, but motivation will not it will only get you started. It will not keep you going. Mm-hmm. So you feel motivated. It's a feeling. It will go. So what I would tell them is to build habit and also think long term. So you can have a short term goal and a long term goal. So oftentimes I'm always letting people to see beyond where they are. So I'll ask them, for example, do you want to be retired today and your medication, you can actually enjoy your retirement? They're having to push you from one push here or, to the other. Would you like that? And oftentimes people will say no. I said, so if you don't want that to happen, then you need to start from today. You need to start. So the quality of life, what type of quality of life do you want? So oftentimes I help them to think long term. Do you want to play with your grandchildren? Do you want to go on the ride? Are you able to even fulfill purpose? Because whether we like it or not, even though we're spirit being, you need your body to fulfill purpose. Spirit don't sit on this chair. Yes, I'm spirit. I have a body to sit down on this chair. So it is fulfilling your purpose. When you start thinking, I need to fulfill my purpose. I need to be in good health to fulfill my purpose. Jesus was one of the most healthy person that I know in this world. He walked everywhere. He walked everywhere. And, the society we live right now does not encourage walking. You understand me? We have the social media, people sitting down their phone. So the first thing I would say is also, like I said, think long term. 2, quality of life, fulfilling purpose. You need your body. Whether we like it or not, when we fall ill, God can only use us to a certain degree. It's because we are alive, we're sitting down here. If we're not in good health, we wouldn't be able to do this. So think purpose. And when God created man and Adam and Eve in the beginning, he actually showed them the type of food man should eat. So God didn't leave us to go and look for our food. He told them, he said, see. Another translation says, look, I have created the fruit, the trees, for your food. So he gave us a template to eat from. So for me, it's always purpose, quality of life, long term. Oftentimes we're very short-sighted. We want the excitement now. But the honest truth is what you sow, you will reap. It's as easy as that. It's a law. If you want to sow good health in your old age, you start sowing it now. And it's never too late. If you're in your 40s, if you're in your 50s, if you're in your 60s, it's never too late. The body, just give the body a month. The way it will change when you start feeding it well, you'll be amazed. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about portions, because this is something I agree when you say actually all our food is good. It's the amount of that we eat that causes the issue. The issue. Yeah. So what is a good portion? Because I know a lot of times we have these conversations that people are holding their fist. I'm thinking this is not a good portion. So what is a good portion on average?
Okay. So the best way to start, which I make it very simple, pick a medium-sized plate in your cupboard. Half of that plate, vegetables or salad. The other half, carbs and protein. That makes it easier. If we're thinking of our swallow, the feast, this one. Yeah, your swallow, feast. and lots of vegetables. You can have your ilala sepo, your okra soup, your forero soup. You can have it, but your carbs that you're going to be having with it, which is the eba, the swallow, shouldn't be more than your feast. And the honest truth is, if you eat like that, your stomach will get used to eating like that.
So what do we do in the meantime? Because now
Okay.
my stomach is this size.
Yeah.
I'm eating like this amount of,
Yeah.
of swallow. Now
Yeah.
you're telling me I can only do that. So what do I do in the meantime before my stomach shrinks?
Okay. So, and I think that is where having a balanced meal comes in. So, for example, are you eating breakfast? Breakfast could be something as simple as oats with some fruit. About midday, maybe about 12 o'clock, you feel peckish, you can have an apple. Then lunch, for example, could be the medium-sized plate, half of it vegetables, the other carbohydrate and protein with some rice or pasta. And dinner could be, or even before you have dinner, you can have another snack, which could be maybe a handful of cashew nut, raw cashew nut, not salted. And dinner could be the swallow with some vegetables, and drinking lots of water. Drinking lots of water.
Okay. So how before I go back into the eating during the day, how much water in general should we drink? How much water on
So
average?
about 6 to 8 glass, depending on the temperature for the day. So oftentimes when it's cold, people will drink more tea, and you shouldn't have more than 4 cups of tea in a day. So about 6 to 8 glass of water. But in places whereby it's really, really hot, they might have to drink more, probably drink about 7 to 8, but about 6 to 8 glass of water you should drink. Yeah.
Okay. So I've also heard that when you drink 1 cup of tea, you should drink 1 glass of water as well, to follow it. Is that true?
No, I've never heard of that before, but there's so much.
I've heard some people would say drink, or actually, I think that drinking water in the morning, is that a good thing? That's a good thing.
Good.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The reason why I would encourage drinking water first thing in the morning before drinking a glass of coffee or tea is because all through the night, your body is fasting. So when you go to bed, your body is not doing anything. It's in a fastest mode, which means it's fasting, it's cleaning itself out. That's what's happening while you are sleeping. Your body is resetting itself for the next day. Maybe if you sleep for 12 hours or for 10 hours. And that's why you also find out that when you wake up in the morning, you want to go to the toilet because there's a lot that has happened. So you need to replenish what has come out. Oftentimes people wake up, they need a fix, which means they go to coffee first. And this is for the coffee drinkers, always have a glass of water first before you drink your coffee or your tea in the morning. It's just, it sets the tone. It hydrates you. It sets your brain, your brain is made up of water. It needs to be alert. It kickstarts you for the day. So yes, drink a glass of water every single morning. And I have a bottle of water next to you in your bed, it's another good way.
Okay. I mean, when you were describing, you can have a bit of breakfast, an apple before lunch. When do we get to eat any sweets?
And you know what? A lot of people always say that. And I think it's two-way things. It's two-way for me. I always tell people that, and I like to put it out there that the sweets, the cakes, the meat pie, the pastries are not the problem. But when you eat them over and over and again, that's where the issue is, because your taste bud will change to whatever food you give it. It's just the way we've been designed. If I go back to eating KFC for the next 1 week, trust me, my body will just wake up and it will be KFC I am craving. It's just the way our body is designed. So this is why I say, choose wisely. So I tell people, you feel like eating popcorn, okay, rather than buying the big bag, can you buy the small one? I tell people, you feel like eating cake, which I wouldn't advise you should eat every day, which you could probably, if you want to eat once in 2 weeks or once in 4 weeks, Why don't you have a slice rather than have the whole 6 muffins? Why don't you have 1 muffin rather than buy the 6? You feel like eating chin chin, we have some people will buy the bucket chin chin. Why do you have to buy the bucket one? Why don't you buy the 50p one or the 60p one? So it is all about portion also again, and how frequently. And also check, why do you all of a sudden feel like having cake? Is it because you've had a hard time at work or you've planned it? I tell people, plan. If I'm going to have a slice of cake, I plan it. I tell myself, come Saturday, I'm having a muffin. It's planned. So when I go to work Monday to Friday, if someone offers me cake, I won't eat it.
Wow, you're disciplined.
Because it's not planned for me. And because I know myself. Okay. That's another thing. Know yourself. It's also personal. Know your triggers. Okay. But once you've planned it, you've given yourself a freedom to eat it, and you wouldn't eat it and feel guilty. Once it's planned, you go into a party. Okay, well, that party I'm going to, they're going to serve us some cake. I'm going to eat. It's planned.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about, because this is about self-control. It's about actually more than self-control. Actually, it's being about self-aware or self-awareness. So if I know that if I have cake today, tomorrow, it's just going to send me into a spiral. Some people might do it and then they won't eat cake for 2 weeks. That's fine, because they know they have the capacity. But what you're saying is that if your capacity isn't that big, or the control isn't that much, then you need to be aware of and then put
measures in place.
Kind of measures are the stoppers for yourself to say, okay, I've had cake today, I'm not going to have for the rest of the week. Talk about when people who, if you say to me that people eat and feel guilty, doesn't mean anything. I would never eat and feel guilty, but that's just me. Yeah, I would just like whatever. But some people, though we're laughing and making a joke, for some people it's an issue. Yeah. So let's talk a bit about it, because it's like naming it, and some people might be doing it and not know that that's what they're doing. So what does it, if you know, because I as I said, I don't know, but if you know what it feels like when people eat something and then they feel guilty, what that feels like.
I think it's oftentimes a mindset, because the only reason why you feel guilty over a thing is because you think it's wrong. That's why you're feeling guilty. So that there has to be would I use the word, a renewing or more new knowledge for them not to feel guilty. So for me, it's very much of food is food. Now I have the power to choose. So if I choose something and I have planned it, then I don't feel guilty. But if I choose something and I have not planned it, then I feel guilty. So oftentimes,
why would I feel guilty though? Why would
because somewhere at the back of their mind, they have broken either a law that they've set for themselves. Okay. So they feel guilty.
So for them, they've done something wrong. And it's only within them.
Okay. Or it could be based on an information that the society has given them.
Or sometimes an agreement they've had with somebody.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've said to my partner, my husband, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm not going to eat any cakes. And then it's somebody's birthday at work, and I eat like 2 slices, and I come home and I feel really bad. Okay.
Yeah. And people feel guilty for shopping too. Maybe you've told your partner this month too, I'm not taking money out of the account. Then you go shopping. Then you come home like, okay, I know. So it's often you've broken a law that you set for yourself or with someone, and that is where the guilt comes. Oftentimes. And for me, I always say, if you break the law, okay, it does happen, dust it off. The next day, we get back on.
Okay. Yeah, because that would have been my next question, like if that happens, because sometimes I've noticed that when people do that, especially around eating, they've said they know they've eaten something that they shouldn't have eaten. And then they feel bad, and then they just said, to hell with it. I'm I don't care anymore. Yeah. And then they sort of spiral and go back to eating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you saying that even when they do that and they feel bad, to just decide, you know what, tomorrow is going to be a better day. I'm going to do it differently tomorrow.
Yes, and that can help some people, but for some people, they've been in that circle for a very long time, and it might be very difficult. And maybe this is where they might have to seek professional help. So for someone that hasn't been into that virtual circle for a very long time, that could be easy. Maybe they got to the office, someone offers them muffin, they ate it, they felt guilty, and they said, you know what, I brought lunch. Lunch is salad and chicken. They're back to it. For somebody, it's very much of, okay, I've messed up the whole day, I'm back tomorrow. They're happy with that. For other people, it is just continuous.
Just goes
They do it
around.
over and over and over again. And I think that's where they need to seek a form of help, a form of therapy to begin to dig deeper, because they might be going through some emotional, maybe stress that is making them to do that, or they've not addressed some certain issues in their life. It could be anger, it could be pressure that they've not addressed.
Yeah. Okay. So if somebody is continually in a cycle of I don't want to use the word defeat, but they start off well, they fall off, they eat again, and sometimes gaining more weight than they did or than they had lost. Okay, so that means it's time for them to actually explore inside, you know, the trauma. And we know that some people comfort eat. Do you want to talk a bit about that? Because so, I think we mentioned it, but I just wanted to bring it back. Some people can eat and then feel guilty. Some people just eat to soothing. Yeah. So talk a bit about that.
Okay. So one thing that you would notice, I was actually reading a book the other day about superfoods for depression, and research shows in the UK that 65% of adults in the UK actually comfort eat. You know, so, and oftentimes comfort eating is we're trying to feel comfort over an issue that we carrying. So it could be as a result of job loss, depression, someone is sick in your family, having a long-term relationship problem, work stress, or it could just be celebration. For some people also, you know, someone's birthday, you know, it's an opportunity for them to eat and comfort eat. So that could be the reason behind it. So what has happened is food is making them feel good. It's comforting them. And oftentimes there are three types of food. So if you want to know if you're a comfort eater, the three types of food is very easy. High sugary food, high salty food, high fatty food. You never see a comfort eater and tell you they want to have a broccoli and a chicken. No. It doesn't happen. It's those high sugar, high fatty, high salty food. And that is because they go there for comfort. And the problem is you go there, you feel good after 10 minutes, you know, your energy is high, it crashes again, you go there for another fix. It's just like a cocaine addict also, always going for a fix to fill that void or to feel good with themselves. So that is what comfort eating is. So for someone that is comfort eating, you'll have to dig deeper again. Okay, is work stress? Okay, so how do I manage work stress so that I don't comfort eat? Okay, so work is a bit strenuous at the moment. Okay, maybe go part-time, reduce my workload, learn to delegate, exercise first thing in the morning to clear my head, you know, change the lifestyle. You have to look at your lifestyle in order to be able to fix that comfort eating. And oftentimes also for we Christians, it's just that we've not spent enough time with God. You know, God is yearning for us to come, and we're trying to fill our soul or our mind with the things of the world. It could also be a sign that God is saying, come, you need to rest. I need to replenish you. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a bit about superfoods, because we hear it all the time. You know, we go into the shops and you know, go into the health food shops, and the superfoods are. Is there any real value to them, or it's just nice?
I don't believe in superfoods. I do not believe in superfoods.
You know, the flax seeds added to.
No, they are good food. You see, the marketing industry has been designed to get you to buy. They've studied you for a very, very long time, we human beings. And they know that once they put superfoods on something, something just clicked in our brain that it is better than what else you've been eating. That's just the issue we have. You know, if you go to the store and you see a product and they say low in sugar, low in fat, you pick it up. It's just the way because they know words catches you. And that is what the marketing industry has done. They have just marketed some certain foods to us and they've called it superfoods. Right. Does this food have good nutrients and vitamins in them? Yes, they do. But you can easily also get what is in them in other foods. So like salmon, for example. Oh yes, salmon is a very good oily fish, you know, but it's expensive. But you can actually eat mackerel in place of salmon. It will do exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. So it's just they've glamorized it and they know it will catch our attention. Flaxseed, fantastic, is a good one, but I would not use the word superfood. It's a good food. Spinach that we eat in Africa, good. Broccoli, good. Ewedu, okra, they're all good food. You know, food have, I would say food are the same, but they all have different ingredients or vitamins you get from them. That's just it. God never said apple is better than banana. No, when he gave them food in the garden, he said, look at the food I've given you, you know, eat it. So he didn't grade food on how good or how super they are. So it's all marketing gimmicks, you know. They are good, don't get me wrong, but there are other foods you can have in their replacement.
Okay. All right. So what are we going? I think we should talk about the book first, and then we can talk about maybe towards the end, talk about what you do for a living and where people can find you. So talk about, because I know your journey has helped you write a book. So talk a bit about what the book entails.
Okay. Yeah, so the book came into my mind about 2.5 years ago. I was in a very not too great season. You know, I didn't have a direction of where to go. And the Lord just dropped it for me to write a book. It was another project. I've never written a book before. I asked God again, would you help me? And he said, yeah, I'll help you. You know, now you know how to be weak. I was no longer a superwoman because I've learned. So he said, now you know how to be weak. And you know, I only help the weak. I give grace to the humble. So he said, okay, we'll write it together. So the book is just to talk about my journey of how God helped me on the journey. Because oftentimes when we want to lose weight, we don't think God is interested. You know, it's when we are looking for a job, we think God is interested. Even some people don't even think God is interested in raising a child. You know, there are some certain things we just leave God out of. And my story is to show you that even your weight loss, He is interested. For you to have a good emotional well-being, He's interested. He said, the plans that I have for you, they are plans of good, they are plans of peace, well-being, the amplified version, Jeremiah 29:11. So the book talks about my journey, how I was able to find a way, how I was able to get to the root of my issue, because until you get to the root of your issue, you would never solve the problem. Mm-hmm. Getting to the root solved 50% of my issue. I knew my issue was an emotional eater, and that was what we had to address. Then also I talked about habits. You know, we want to lose weight. We're not ready to build habits. I talked about why it is important for you to build habit. And it doesn't take 21 days to form a habit. It actually takes almost between 66 days to 365 days a year to form a habit. And the habit formation stage, I talked about it. I talked about the mind. The mind is powerful. You know, only if we could harness the power of the mind. I talked about how you can renew your mind to think differently and behave differently. Then I talked about self-control. You know, people often tell me, Sean, I don't have self-control. Sean, how can you eat just one slice of cake and you walk out? Sean, how can you go to a gathering and they're offering you a bowl of jollof rice and you say you are not taking home? I can't. I must take that bowl. You know, and I tell them, according to Galatians 5, as a Christian, you have the fruit of the Spirit of self-control. And God taught me that, how to harness that power within me and how to grow that fruit. So I talked about that. I talked about temptation, what is on my plate now. It is a lifestyle. how to choose, why it's important to do physical activity, how you can get God on involved. So it's basically my journey from weakness to strength. So how God took my weaknesses and he turned them into a strength by his grace. And I believe everyone that is having, maybe they want to lose weight or having a weight issue, this will really, really bless them. And also, if you want to cultivate your relationship with God, there are some certain things that I said that in there that you'll be thinking, can you speak to God like that? I remember God saying, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, including weight loss. And I said, God, you must be joking. Hey, in my head, I was thinking, I'm like, God, you must be joking. And I thought, but I was growing as a Christian. That was because it felt very awkward to me, and yeah, so that is the book that is in there. It's divided into 3, book 1, book 2, book 3, and it's very educative. The review has been mind-blowing. So many information on how to change your eating habit and how to make it a lifestyle. God doesn't want us to be dieting. No, he wants it to be a way of life for us. And that is all I wrote in the book.
Okay, so what's the book called and where can we
find it? It's called Weakness Became Strength. It's on Amazon, on Kindle, and paperback. Weakness Became Strength, a faith journey to weight loss and emotional wellness. And it's been 10, 11 years. I've never had any episode of depression, suicidal thoughts, gone, never had any episode. And God has been my rock. Yeah.
Okay. And one thing I think we left out was physical exercise. Okay. So when we hear it, does that mean I wake up every morning and run 5 kg?
No, it doesn't. Physical activity or physical exercise means you can go for a walk, 30-minute walk. Even the government actually encourages us that we should do at least 150 minutes of any form of physical activity in a week. So the UK government is actually recommended it, which is about 30 minutes in a day, if you want to break it down. And also they actually encourage you that the older you get, because of falls and because of fracture, older people, they also encourage them to exercise. I actually believe exercise is a free drug that God has given us to distress. Mm-hmm. It is free. All you need to do is to find the one you enjoy and show up. That is what
so I mean, like when people hear that word exercise, they're thinking either I have to wake up in the morning and walk an hour, but can we break it down? Because I read somewhere that you can do 250 steps every hour.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Which means it's probably like getting up from your desk and walking around your office floor, or maybe going to another floor and coming back, and doing that every hour, every couple of hours, or walking from the bus stop to your office instead of when you come out of the station, walking to your office, or now that most of us are home, just coming out of your house and walking at lunchtime for half an hour or something. So give us a practical suggestion.
Okay, suggestion. So something as easy as doing gardening is a form of physical activity. Because when you even do something as simple as gardening, it gets your heart rate pumping. So what you're looking at is to get your heart rate pumping with exercise to a certain degree, So for exercise, for example, if you're an early morning person, you can go for a brisk walk before everybody wakes up. You can go on YouTube and do a form of physical activity in your house. Go on YouTube, Google 5 miles walk. You can do a walking one in the comfort of your home, or if you like jumping, you can do a bit of HIIT exercise on YouTube, or you can go to the gym. But I think what is important is that you plan it. Mm-hmm. Exercise just doesn't happen. It has to be planned. If it's important to you, I always tell people, you'll find a way. And oftentimes I tell people, think of the benefit of exercising. When you think of the benefit, it actually encourages you, to exercise. You're distressing, you're releasing happy hormones into your mind when you do any form of physical exercise. It changes your mood. Your mood becomes lighter. Your bones become stronger. You are much more stronger to even maybe the issues of life. For example, research has shown that people that do any form of physical activity, they're able to face the pressures of life because they've been able to exercise their body. So oftentimes I would say plan, find the one you enjoy and go at your own pace. That's the word. Go at your own pace. Any form of exercise that makes your heartbeat to go up to a certain level, it is good for you. It is of benefit for you, And exercise, oftentimes you would not see the benefit now. It's almost maybe 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line that you actually be reaping it. But plan it. It has to be planned. I'm being honest. Do what works for you. If the one walking from your desk to the bus stop works for you, do that. Rather than take your car to work, if you can walk to work, if you don't live too far, do that. Rather than stop at the station that you never normally get off every morning, stop 2 stations before and walk to work. It's very just make it practical, that is not stressful for you. But at the same time, you still get in for some form of physical activity. Rather than go to Tesco by driving and you just want to pick up 1 or 2 items, take a walk. If you're taking the children to school, rather than driving, take a walk. You're even encouraging the children, to do a form of physical activity. So it's all planned. Once it's planned, it's fine.
Okay. Because I think one thing I've sort of picked up today is that we have to be intentional.
Yes.
And it's not actually necessarily about, yes, for people who are overweight and really need to lose weight, yes. But for everybody else who is okay, it's about maintaining the bodies that we have to get them to work as well as they can for the rest of the time that we have on earth, so that we can actually enjoy a better lifestyle. We can enjoy life more to the fullest. So is this what you do for a living? What you've done for us today?
Yes, I do. So I work for a local authority and I teach people lifestyle changes. That's what I do.
Okay.
So it's very so it's a healthy lifestyle. So we're much more into behaviors. Give me the recipe, I'll know what to do. No, you need to change your behavior. Once the behavior is changed, then the lifestyle is easier. And telling them why they need to do what they need to do. Letting them know that motivation will get you started, but it is habits that keeps you going.
Okay.
Letting them, why do I need to eat brown rice or white rice?
Let's not talk about that. That's what the white rice lovers. I think
Exactly. Sorry.
But actually, where I think what is probably more fascinating is that for something that was everybody would have said was something the devil was using against you, being overweight, being depressed, being suicidal, but God has used it to his advantage, and you are fulfilling purpose and you're earning money from it, and you've written a book, and it's a ministry as well as a career. So I think that was why I was asking you to talk about that right at the end, so that we know that everything that we go through is God has an agenda and God has a plan. He's not just allowing all of these things to happen to us. Okay. All right. So we've come to time. What would you like to leave us with today? I've learned something. I have to be intentional. I have to be purposeful.
Wow.
To keep myself healthy for the rest of my journey.
Yeah. And also, I would say take it one day at a time and get God involved with it. Get God into the plan. He's already waiting for you anyway. You don't need to bring him in. He's already waiting to bring you into himself. So get God involved. I believe the Holy Spirit is the biggest cheerleader that you could ever have, because he's the one that will be able to tell you, okay, that's enough. You need to go for your walk now. You haven't exercised in the last 5 days. He'll become your accountability partner. He'll be able to even tell you something as simple as coffee. I didn't know that coffee was giving me heart palpitation. I just all of a sudden found out that my heart were always beating. And I remember telling God one day that my heart is beating fast and I couldn't sleep in the night. And the Holy Spirit said, it's the coffee you started drinking.
Yeah.
As simple as that. As simple as that. So it's important we get him off. There are times I wouldn't drink water and I'll feel tired. And God will say, you haven't drank water that much today. Go and drink water. All this crankiness, you don't need it. Go and drink water. Your brain is starved.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing your journey so honestly.
You're welcome.
I'm sure
so much
people
for
have been
having me.
inspired. You will have people running around their houses and holding their feast now.
Yeah, the feast one is always the one. Are you telling me I have to eat this much epa? This one won't feel it will feel you. Yeah, it's really.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you once again.
See you again. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
What have you learned? I've learned you have to be intentional. The Holy Spirit is alongside you, leading, guiding, encouraging you to be the best. Thank you for watching, for listening. My name is Lydia Khalil, and this is Conversations with Lydia.
LCBN television broadcasts 24/7 on UK Freeview Channel 271, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, Google TV, See Love World, LCBNTV.com, LifeComTV.com.